Hello, Whiskey Vagabonds. Welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host, Mark, and this is Whiskey Review number 120. We're going to Sweden. Well, our taste buds are, and we're going to be tasting Mackmyra First Edition, it's called. This is their first general release from this very, very interesting Swedish distillery. Let's get it poured, and while we're doing that, we're going to talk a little bit about the distillery, and then we'll get into the tasting, the nosing, the tasting. We'll talk about the finish, and then we'll give it a score. Now, this whiskey, it's a single malt, and it's all natural in color. It's also not chill filtered, so that's great. Very interesting design, nice wooden cork, and a very, very cool box also. Let me show you how that works, just so that you get the full effect. As far as cardboard boxes go, this is probably the nicest I've ever seen. So this is how you get your whiskey, and not only do they have a very fairly modern logo, but they've got a very interesting sort of an emblem, which relates to the history of the distillery and the history of the town, in fact, where it's from, which I believe is also called Mackmyra, or at least the area is called. It's from a place called Valbo in Sweden. Okay, and it's 46.1% ABV. All right, so here's how it is, and you slide it open. You slide it open as such. Pretty cool, huh? Look at that. All right. Okay, so we've got it poured there. Let me get that out again. Okay, on to the discussion. So this distillery, very interesting history. It was founded in 1999. 1998 is when the idea started. A bunch of Swedes gathered. These were business types, and apparently everybody brought a bottle of single malt with them to some conference or whatever. And they discussed the idea of why there isn't a Swedish single malt. And so the idea was hatched. 1999 they were founded, and after trying about 170 recipes, they settled on two to get started with. And 2002, the distillery was erected, the formal distillery. I believe before that they were just practicing with a still. And let's see here. They began distilling at the new distillery in October of 2002. Funny thing is, they don't have just one distillery, they have two of them. They're fairly close together, some miles apart, however, so that's kind of interesting. 2006, they released their first whiskey, which was called Preludium 01, and this apparently sold out in 20 minutes. I mentioned it's all natural. It's also very local, so they're really looking for the sort of terroir, or the sort of keep it local kind of idea, which does a number of things. Among them, reduces the carbon footprint that people love to talk about. Anyway, so everything is local from within 75 miles of the distillery, except for the yeast. And they also use lots of Swedish oak, which grows much more slowly, which apparently invokes a lot of spicy tones into the whiskey. What else here? It's matured in an underground mine. Very cool. And most of the offerings are cask strength, with the exception of this one at 46.1, and another offering called Mackmyra Brooks Whiskey, which I saw in Winnipeg a couple of years ago. Wanted to buy it, I didn't. I hesitated, and it's gone. Anyway, I wonder how that was. I'm sure it was good. I mentioned they've got two distilleries. The first has a single pot still, roughly about 0.3 million liters per year of pure alcohol. They list 0.6 million liters, 0.6 million bottles. So maybe a little bit less than that, maybe 0.2. And 2001, in fact, they began building their other distillery, This one is 7 stories tall, and it uses gravity to produce the electricity to run the distillery. And this one can put out about, I don't know, something about like maybe 0.8 million liters of pure alcohol per year. Again, they list 1.8 million bottles. So 700 milliliter bottles, do the math, 60% ish. There you go. Okay. Anyway, so 2 distilleries. It is now publicly traded, which is very interesting. It's quite a large company. I believe as of 2013, they employed something like 55 people or thereabouts. So likely they have a lot more people on staff. And if you think about it, there are some distilleries in Scotland that produce a heck of a lot more whiskey that have quite a smaller complement of staff. So Mackmyra, you're doing a great job with providing local jobs. That's fantastic. All right. Anything else I want to mention? Well, it's been a while since I recorded. Ended up taking a little holiday last week with my family. So lost my recording day. Friday is my recording day. This is Friday, November 4th or something like that. I forget the day of the week. Well, no, it's Friday. The day of the week. I forget the date anyway. 2016. Now I decided to contact the distillery, and well, the person that I ended up getting to talk to is somebody named Angela Dorazio. Angela Dorazio, I believe it's pronounced, D''Orazio. Angela Dorazio. Or Dorazio, if you put a bit of an American twang on the accent. And she happens to be the master blender and the CNO, the Chief Nose Officer. So we corresponded. Thank you very much for all your help. She sent me some nice pictures, which you'll see rolling through here. There's one of the bottle, another of the emblem, and then a third of the bottle amidst a gathering being enjoyed. And I found a photo of her courtesy of, I believe, MissWhisky.com. So thanks very much. Also getting acquainted with her. Very interesting blog, very interesting woman. Have a look for her, MissWhisky.com, and also on Twitter. Okay. And Angela Dorazio also is on Twitter, so you can look for her, and hopefully you can find some cool things out about this great distillery. Anyway, now it's not the only distillery in Sweden anymore. There's quite a few. I believe Mackmyra was the first to sort of get the ball rolling, and in fact in Scandinavia also the whiskey kind of let's call it a boom has gone over to Denmark also, and I believe there's also other Scandinavian countries that are now distilling single malt among other kinds of whiskey. Some of them are doing other sorts of whiskey like rye. So very interesting. Swedish whiskey, Scandinavian whiskey, Danish whiskey. Scotland is going to have a run for its money. Okay, on to the nose. We'll get onto that now. Oh, well, there's a couple more things. Let's just go through this very quickly. So this is the first core range bottling, 46.1% ABV. This is no longer available regularly. Now they have switched to something called Svensk EK, Svensk Ek, Swedish Oak. I don't know how to pronounce the EK part, but it's not EK, that's the word for oak. And this one has 5% Swedish Oak used in the casking. The new offering has gone up to 10%, and 60% of the whiskey in this one has been finished for 2 or more years in quarter casks of 100 to 125 liters using Swedish Oak 5%. Also, entirely Swedish Oak casks are also used. Ex-bourbon, new American Oak, and Oloroso sherry casks. The first edition, which is this one, is 5 to 6 years old in age. Again, according to Ms. Dorazio. So thanks very much for that knowledge. And the new Svensk Oak, the Swedish Oak range, the Swedish Oak offering, called Svensk Ek, or Swedish Oak, is 7 to 8 years old. And some other little information to share with you. I'm sure there are some of you out there that are interested in buying casks of whiskey. So you can do that with Mackmyra. They offer 30-liter Swedish Oak casks for sale to buy with friends. Also at the distillery, they offer at the moment bottlings of a few casks blended together in a numbered series. Okay, so you can find out more information about that looking at the Mackmyra website. Okay. All right, onto the nose now. Sorry about the wait. Let's get on to that. First, we'll have a very short advertisement right here. Welcome back. Let's get on to the nosing of Mackmyra whiskey. This is called the First Edition. Now, looking at the whiskey, there's a little bit of sediment in there. So not only is it not chill filtered, it may also be very loosely, if at all, very loosely barrier filtered. Again, if at all. And I can see the sediment in there. We didn't talk about the color. This is a light lemony gold, very light shade. It's nice to talk about the color because it's natural, so that's great. I don't know if you can get the full effect on that one, but very nice to look at. Onto the nose. It's very spicy. Now, if you pour yourself a glass of this and get your nose right into it, you will be greeted with some mint and eucalyptus. Almost like, to describe it better, something like a salve or ointment that may contain camphor, eucalyptus, and mint or menthol onto an achy muscle or sore legs or something like that. And in Korea, that's quite popular. It's called passe. Don't ask me what exactly that means. I think it's a foreign root word. Anyway, so eucalyptus, menthol, sweet citrus. It also has a decidedly youthful whiskey smell to it also. It is 5 or 6 years old, so you can't expect that kind of well-aged sense to come through like you find in things that are 15 years and older. Okay, so it's got a young whiskey scent to it. And if I can draw a comparison to something I've tried before, there is something similar in this whiskey to a particular Canadian whiskey that I reviewed in the summer while I was home in Canada. I'll let you look back and find out which one that was. There were 2 of them that I looked at, and the single malt from the Canadian distillery, which is younger, which is about 3 years old, has certainly some similarities. There's some similarities between the 2. And I think it's not just the fact that it's young, it may be for the style that they're trying to recreate, or the style they're trying to kind of develop. You know, everybody wants to develop their own style. So the style they're looking for here, you can draw some comparisons with that one. And I won't mention it. You can look for it yourself. Okay, and there's also some cola, some cinnamon, and some ginger notes coming through. And with time, you'll find that the eucalyptus, menthol, camphor sort of medicinal notes really dissipate, and you get ginger cake and some spice cake with orange icing coming through. So some citrus to balance things out. Yeah, and I'm getting that ginger cake type of a smell now too. Anyway, very pleasant nose. And for me, even the eucalyptus and menthol minty scent is enjoyable. Okay, on to the taste. Cheers, everybody, and a special thank you to Miss Angela Dorazio. Thank you so much. Well, it's sweet and spicy. Gets a bit dry with time. And what I wrote here is orange and ginger are still well present there. It still has a lot of youthful vigor to it. But there's also some vanilla extract coming through, as well as a touch of, let's call it baked wood or sauna, or slightly wood smokiness to it on the palate. And a touch of oiliness to it, which is nice. And the finish, spice, and more spice will delight your mouth after you've swallowed this whiskey. You still got the orange there as well. A little bit of wood smoke, citrus, touch of dryness, and lengthwise, it's actually medium to medium long. So pretty long finish for a young whiskey. Very nice. Let's add some water. I believe this one does best with water. So we're going to add a good measure. I'll go with about 3 or 4 milliliters of water added. Let that mix up a little bit. Yeah, so it's Friday. My work week's done. I'm really excited for the weekend. I've got some things going on. Tonight I'll be visiting the Malt shop here in Seoul, in Gangnam, where there is a whiskey tasting for a particular brand of Scotch single malt whiskey. So you can watch for information on that. I'll probably be doing some tweeting, possibly some Instagramming of photos for that. The WhiskyWhistle Twitter account, by the way, again, you can just look for WhiskyWhistle, WHISKY, WHISTLE. Likewise for Instagram. Please follow if you haven't, and if you're interested in whiskey and you also do a little bit of posting about that, I'll likely follow you back. Okay, that's probably pretty good. I would suggest leaving that for longer. In fact, earlier I actually had to put a lid on it and go and pick up my daughter, and I think about 40 minutes lapsed when I came back to check it out with water. So try to leave it, the longer the better, I would say. And in fact, Ms. Dorazio also mentioned that a bit of water and a bit of time really positively affect the experience of this whiskey. All right, so it's a lot sweeter now. You've still got some wood effects going on there, and something kind of like a sweet oatmeal going on. And I wrote here sweet porridge with a touch of ginger and cinnamon added. With enough time, you'll be greeted with some vanilla, some cherry conserve or cherry jam, cut wood. The mint and eucalyptus is still there, though it's kind of in the background. And it seems like if you open your mouth while you're smelling, you'll get that eucalyptus and mint effects a little bit more strongly than with a closed mouth. So, as such, you really get your nose in there. You're going to warm up to it though. Start from further away and then get closer and closer. Okay. On to the taste. We'll have one more short advertisement right there. All right, welcome back, Mackmyra. On to the taste now with water. Cheers to all of you. Much more rounded sweetness. There's a little bit of nuttiness going on there too. I write here soft grain sweetness, honey and wheat, cinnamon, ginger, vanilla. Not much dryness. There's a certain oiliness to it that I mentioned, that hint of wood smoke or sauna effect, and touch of a nice raw almond extract to it. Something like maybe just a hint of marzipan. All right. And the finish, what I really like about this whiskey is the finish with a bit of water. You're going to find some cherry coming alive in your mouth. Cherry, citrus, it really comes through. And again, with enough time, yeah, a little bit of licorice, like a licorice mint or a licorice tea. You're going to notice that one. And the finish actually gets longer with water, so that's quite interesting. All right, so that is Mackmyra First Edition Single Malt Swedish Whiskey. Okay, on to the scoring now. The WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Mackmyra Whiskey, the First Edition, is going to be 85 out of 100. And my little nickname for this one is going to be called the Young Swedish Prince. There is lots of spice and an incredible amount for 5 to 6 years. This whiskey, this distillery, is going to be one you need to watch, especially in the coming years when they start releasing older, hopefully age-stated whiskeys. They're not really known for stating ages, but it's really nice that they'll let you know when you ask. I didn't even ask, and that was made known to me that this is a 5 to 6 year old whiskey. So again, thank you very much to Mackmyra Whiskey for letting me know. Anything else? Right, I write here, there will be huge things coming for Mackmyra. Huge things coming for Mackmyra, I believe. And I hope I get to experience more from this whiskey, more from this brand, more from this distillery. Okay? All right, so that was 85 out of 100. That's for Mackmyra Whiskey, the First Edition. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. You can click the link right down there. WhiskyWhistle on YouTube, WhiskyWhistle on Twitter, on Instagram. There's even Line, if you're interested. Vine. There's a Vine, and I forgot the name of that one. And if you're in Korea, you can look at Naver blog, WhiskyWhistle. Also, please become my neighbor on the Naver blog. Okay. All right. So that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing you come back again. And make sure you leave a comment, share it with your friends. For those of you over in Sweden, you guys are so lucky to have such a very interesting whiskey made right there at home. Good job. And thanks again to Miss Angela Dorazio. Cheers, everybody. Take care.